Wow, they finally produced an episode of New Doctor Who that was actually watchable. Now, it had a fatal flaw to make this entire episode absolutely pointless, but I'll get into that towards the end of the review. Yes, it's still bad writing, but at least this one, I could tolerate. And the reason I could tolerate it was very, very simple. Nikuti Gatwa, pictured right here, was only in it for 2-3 minutes. He was out of the whole thing, and that proves to be the winning formula for the current Doctor Who. I hope every episode continues to do this going forward because he's a disaster. He truly is. So I'll get into the review in just a moment. I am a professional science fiction writer, so I do these reviews a little more in depth than a lot of other people do. This is my series, The Arishon War. It is on Amazon right now. It's a trilogy that also has 2 books that tie into it in fun ways. I wrote a romance novel that really, really does a lot of fun with this. If you enjoy some cool stuff, check these out, and also check out those side novels that tie into this. And support the channel with our science fiction here. I'll give you a little more fun than Doctor Who has been in years. And I appreciate you guys. You've been amazing. I love Doctor Who fans because you're readers, you're smart people, and that has been great having a bunch of you come in and read these books over the last month or so. All right. So thank you guys for being here. And let's get into this episode. 73 yards. They end up in Wales. And so they end up on the Welsh countryside. Out in the middle of kind of nowhere, and the Doctor and Ruby go out, and he steps on some weird witchcrafty thing that is some thing of string, and then Ruby opens a message that's left there that says rest in peace, and it sets off this chain of events where things go really, really weird. Now, the Doctor disappears, and Ruby can't get back in the TARDIS. She's stuck. And then there's this old lady making motions to her that's always standing 73 yards away, regardless. And I'm like, huh, okay. It actually went pretty creepy. Russell T Davies actually, when he gets out of his want to do a gay sing and dance number for sort of thing, he seems to actually do these pretty well, and it's pretty nice. This is the first episode in period which did not signal tons of oh yeah, beautiful lesbians and transgenders. It just focused on the plot, thank God, and it made it watchable. Thankfully, he was not in it. And what I realized about Gatwa's performances is that he is such an over actor, and he's so over the top, and he's so just giddy and gay all the time that it actually kills any suspense for the show. And so, since he's not in it, Millie Gibson actually did a pretty good job through this episode, and she was better without him too, because when she's with him, she's giggling so much. Like I said, it just kills suspense. In this one, it was actually a real horror episode, and you just have this creepy lady following her wherever she goes. And the weird part about it is whenever she shows up, the lady. And Millie has to deal with it, and she tries to send somebody to go talk to her to tell her to go away or whatever. Whoever runs up to her runs away in abject fear and never wants to interact again. It breaks them, and so it ends up being creepy. They actually do a thing in a little bar where Millie's there, and she's like, "Hey, it's they act like it's a ghost story with some witchcraft." And she eventually gets kicked out, goes home, sends her mother to go. The mother thing's stupid. They have these black ladies who adopted her, for another virtue signal. It really is irritating. But they send her out, and then she interacts with the lady, and then never wants to talk to her again. Locks her out also. So she ends up being alone, tired, freaked out. She ends up talking to the what is it? The agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. people who are S.H.I.E.L.D., not S.H.I.E.L.D. I think they're called UNIT, who then send all their agents into this lady, and even trained, their agents run away and then don't want to deal with her ever again as well once this mysterious, creepy figure following her notices them. So she does a great job on that. About the middle of the episode, it shifts in time. And so then Millie's 30 years old, and then Millie's 40 years old. and she's involved in things. And you remember a throwaway line at the beginning of the episode where the doctor talks about how there's a like really bad man who's going to become prime minister, and he's going to launch all England's nukes. It's definitely like probably a little Trump allegory or whatever, even though it doesn't make any sense because Trump's the only one who kept us out of these stupid wars. But that's that was done, and then she's like, oh, maybe my whole job here is to prevent that guy from becoming prime minister. And she actually uses the creepy woman to get herself positioned 73 yards away to make her stand next to the guy and then make him freak out and run away. And eventually he quits being prime minister because of that. Now, that didn't solve the episode, and it was not the riddle. It was not what was supposed to be there. And she continues just like with this in her life. She ends up an old lady. The old lady just ends up dying, and as she dies, and you figure this out a little ahead of time, that old lady like 73 yards away for some reason is Ruby, making motions, and that's where it ends. So that whole setup, the horror element at the beginning was a lot of fun for the first half of the episode. Once it got into like the politics with this guy and trying to remove him from all the things, that was pretty fun too. And then she grows old, and that was pretty fun too. Now, here's the fatal flaw of the episode. Once you get to this point, and she dies, she obviously becomes the old lady, and it resets. It goes back into Wales again, and the doctor's there, and they relaunch again. And here's their little like thing right here that they stepped on that set off this whole cycle. She then warns herself not to step on it, and then they don't step on it, and so it doesn't happen. So this is one of those like cycle of time things where they didn't really show the Groundhog's Day thing where it's a cycle kind of thing. But the one cycle broke it, and the entire episode ends up being pointless because of this. Like, Ruby didn't accomplish anything. Ruby was not smart enough to figure out what was going on through 80 years of her life. She just let it happen, and it happened, and she just ended up dying, and it just reset, and there was no reason or purpose behind it. And it's not like she saved the doctor. It's not like she did anything magical or cool. It's not like we figured out what was going on. Why does the lady stand 73 yards away? There was no like answer towards that. Why does she like make everybody run away who sees her? There was no answer towards that. It's just like that was set up just to like have the horror elements and have Ruby go through this whole life cycle, and then it just didn't answer or pay off. Now, in good writing, you have to have a sort of setup, and you have to like go towards a conclusion. And when you build a mystery like that, your entire objective is to answer the mystery for the audience. You have to set up something and then deliver for your audience. If you don't deliver on the setup, then you failed as a writer. And that's kind of what Russell T Davies ended up doing here. So even though this was watchable, even though this was a lot of actually fun and suspense, I found it a very like fun episode all the way until the end. And I sat there and then I was just like, oh, well, that was disappointing because like it was entirely pointless. It reset. It didn't matter. It never really existed. And now they're just moving on to the next episode. So this was a throwaway episode when it could have been something great. And that's really, really sad about what Russell T Davies is doing with the writing at this point. He just like takes the lazy way out every time. He did a cool horror setup. We've seen that in Doctor Who before. But there was no payoff. There was no heroic resolution. Ruby did not accomplish anything, as I said before. Ruby is not actually a hero in this. She just existed. And what's the point of that? Like, why would you watch a TV show that you just exist, you die, and then you come back again? Oh, cool. There's a lot of suspense there. I mean, obviously, the Doctor was going to come back. I mean, and obviously, she was going to go on more adventures with him. We knew that going in, but you have to have a plot line that resolves with a hero taking action and have agency in that action. And when you set up a mystery, you got to kind of at least explain something or why, just it existing and being weird fairy magic is not good for a science fiction program. Now, Russell T Davies has said, of course, that he's going to piss off science fiction fans in this by doing this and just making it. He's playing the card, oh, it's just fantasy, who cares? Well, that's lazy writing. And unfortunately, his laziness and inability to actually go to that next draft, and this is where you need a good editor, in order to explain the situation and really pay everything off, made this episode from something that, actually would have been one of the better episodes of Doctor Who to something that is just utterly pointless at the end of the day. So it was watchable. That's the good news. Good news is it was not a gay song and dance routine. Good news is we didn't have Gatwa wrecking everything with his terrible performances because he wasn't in it. But the bad news is it was just a pointless episode that really went nowhere and didn't accomplish anything. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to check out my Arroz and War trilogies. I do pay things off, and I do answer questions, and I resolve really... I love it when it gets into book 2 especially. Don't sleep on this. Thank you guys for the support, and we'll be back soon.